The cross was lying on the floor and the mariner on top of it. He was nailing his hand to the horizontal bar. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end, he was screaming. Alright everybody, we are here today checking out an absolute beast of an upcoming banger. This right here is Terror Endless Night. It's a game that I've been following for a while, in particular because this right here was the very big next project announced from the people behind Beat Cop. Now, Beat Cop, you guys remember we played it on the channel many years ago. It was a way different time in society and in YouTube in particular back then, but we did a full series on that. Absolutely amazing game. But after that game, after Beat Cop, the developers kind of quiet. There wasn't really much going on with them. And then, roughly 2019, 2020, I think they announced this, right? But there wasn't really much details other than the fact it was going to be a game where you basically are in control of a crew in a very dire situation. Well, here in 2022 now, we have all the details as we have a demo available for everybody. I have a link for you down below if you want to check it out for yourselves, but this is going to be you leading an expedition, based on real events, by the way. You leading an expedition to find the HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror. Ahoy, Captain! Welcome to Terror Endless Night. While playing the game, you take the helm of a 19th century ship, stuck in the ice during the polar night. The fate of the cruise depends on your decision and management skills. So this is letting us know there's only going to be a demo, a snippet, a work in progress, any sort of errors that we notice. It's only a snippet. And as a matter of fact, it's going to be showing up the gameplay mechanics through the last days of the HMS Terror and the HMS Erebus. So this won't even be the crew that you're in charge of with the full game. It's just showing off the gameplay mechanics through the last days of the Erebus and Terror. So let's get underway. Captain Francis Crozier. The cold doesn't give in. We're still trapped. The ice immobilized their vessel near northwest of King William Island in August 1846. These words are written with my own hand. That is Francis Rodin Moira Crozier, current commander of this expedition. It is so for Sir John Franklin, who was in command, from after we made sail from Green Hit, died on 11 June 1847. Commanding Captain James Fitzjames has become my deputy. As HMS Terror has been abandoned, we have grouped on the Erebus. Many men have died. Many have fallen ill. We're running out of supplies. The crew experiences rather weird conditions, weakness, absent-mindedness, lack of energy. We have sent people to get us some help several times in various directions. None of those expeditions have returned. If nobody arrives to help us, me and the Captain Fitzjames will consider leaving Erebus and trying to save ourselves on foot. Captain, if you wish, you can end this day and go to the next one. Oh, so right now we don't do anything? It's only apparently 10 days in this demo, so keep that in mind. Here's our new deputy, Captain. It's no use at all. Everything is pointless. Captain James Fitzjames was staring at a piece of paper, almost tearing up. My brain wasn't working as best as my memory was malfunctioning definitely, but I don't think I've ever seen him so depressed. The scrap he was holding was hastily written, reports of icebreakers who left no delusions. The ice was pressuring on the ship with such a force that cannot be withstood, even by sending a large group of icebreakers, whom we didn't have either way. I couldn't let my deputy break down mentally. In these darkest times, it is thanks to his presence and support that we were able to survive another hour here. James, I finally said, do you remember what we talked about? We've considered leaving Erebus and escaping on foot. Now, since the ship is way beyond saving, it's no more an option, but a necessity, which we'll have to face. Captain Fitzjames looked at me with his once charming eyes. There was no trace of happy sparks that used to shine from them. If so, we have to plan it carefully, he replied. In the meantime, since we are no longer considering stopping the pressuring ice, it seems that we have just gained a few icebreakers. We can assign them to other tasks. Well, I'm not sure what we're kind of aching on at the moment. Whether we want food. I'm not sure what we need the guardhouse for right now. And fire always is a good thing. Let's go with food, though. And ice crushing no longer a thing. So William Smith, blacksmith, and John Downing, quartersmith, you are freed up. Anybody in shift number 2? No. So there's 2 shifts with the ice crushing. And we got 2 freed up people. Let's go on back now and put them, as I mentioned, in the kitchen. Although apparently the kitchen can only hold 3 dudes, so we have one extra freed up guy. That's fine. So we'll do... John Downing is disturbed. Blacksmith or quartermaster in the kitchen. I guess we'll go with the quartermaster. And the freed up guy, well, I guess he's gonna be freed up for a bit. Every day becomes a monster's routine. After waking up, or rather breaking out of a trance that cannot be called sleep, the first I do to getting to know when the expedition has returned. Mariners stopped answering this question and resorted to simply shaking their heads, maybe for the better as their voice could burn my conscience even more. Other task. Have I sent those men to death, or have they found human settlements but it was decided that rescuing us would be too dangerous? I was thinking how to tell the crew we would embark into a dark, cold void outside of the ship when I received a report from a messenger. Captain Fitzjames is sharing information, sir, said somebody entering my cabin. I turned around, it was John Russell, a navigator who seemed responsible for the watch. People assigned to the galley have greatly helped with preparing meals. We have little supplies left, but it looks like the crew will be nourished better. One small instance of good news in the dawn of death and hopelessness. Better than nothing. I nodded and dismissed the messenger, now back to reality. How to tell the crew that we're leaving the ship. So this is a result of the extra people we put into, like, making meals for us, so... Not bad. There were not so many of us in the ship, so every somehow loud noise was echoing in the wooden walls of the vessel, especially such horrible screams, coming somewhere from the common cabin. I went to see what was going on, but with every step I took, I felt more and more devoured by the screaming, imprisoning me just like the ice-trapping Erebus, screaming full of fear and despair. What happened was that one mariner dragged, probably having chopped it off, a huge oaken cross from the ship's chapel to the common cabin. When I ran into the room, the cross was lying on the floor and the mariner on top of it. He was nailing his hand to the horizontal bar. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. He was screaming, freeing himself from others who were trying to stop him. I immediately tried to help as well, but the mariner turned out to be surprisingly strong in spite of his weak and malnourished posture. What on earth are you doing? I shouted, joining in the cacophony of nightmare choir. Blessed are those who have washed their robes that may have right to free of life and may go through the gates into the city. Mariner kept on screaming, ignoring everyone around him completely. Eventually, though, when he managed to nail his hand to the cross for good, we pulled a hammer from his hand and immobilized his second hand effectively. After the noise, the room fell silent. It was sudden, unexpected, and probably due to that, even more frightening. Holding the madman, we were looking at each other confused. What are we gonna do, Captain? Somebody asked me. And only then did I realize that everybody is waiting for my order. So, do we isolate the insane guy or do we kill him? I mean, I don't know, man. It seems like... to kill him for that? I mean, it's not like he was actively going after people, right? You just kill him for that. I'm gonna isolate him. The madman calmed down completely. He was lying on the cross and looking at a ceiling with an empty gaze, as if he had lost all his vital energy by nailing his hands. Is it able to detach him anyhow smoothly? I asked, nobody in particular. If there's no infection to the wound, it should not be much of a problem, said someone from the crowd. Maybe we will be able to save his hand as well. Try to detach him then, and put him in the isolation that he won't be able to harm himself, let alone harm others. Maybe it's just a temporary breakdown. Perhaps he needs rest. Mariners looked at each other with doubt, but after a moment they started doing what I ordered. Let's hope insanity won't spread to other people here. You have decided to imprison the mariner. And that's all we can do, I imagine? Yes. Okay. Days and night blend in this nightmarish darkness. Time seems to slowly stop working. How much time has passed since my decision to imprison the madman? Hours, days, everything seems so distant and current at the same time. Whatever the case is, the crew quickly felt the consequences of my order. Oh, good. The madman was put in a holding cell, but it didn't help him. Although he had no possibility to harm himself, he quickly started speaking again. Soon his words turned into singing. Bible fragments, parts of novels, weird and incomprehensible words started echoing on the ship. I'm quite sure it didn't make the crew feel better, since even I can't control my anxiety whenever I hear the sound of his voice ringing in my ears. In the afternoon, Though it's just an estimate since it was hard to talk about something like time of day in such conditions, I received a report from the infirmary. I must admit, I was getting worried about no information regarding the process healing of indisposed people. For this reason, it made me happy that someone broke the silence eventually. Condition of 2 patients has become significantly better, sir, John Russell reported. Those 2 are the cook and the watch's commander. I'm not sure if you know, but you're bringing me probably the only positive word I've heard recently, I said, trying to sound as cheerful as I could. Though it probably didn't work out that much. Well, it's not everything, Commander. The messenger darkened. I realized that my happiness was premature. It turned out that medication supply was running drastically low. It was possible to fully cure just 1 of the patients. Cure the cook or heal the guard commander? Look, dog, right now at this situation, I'm thinking opposite than keeping ourselves warm, we gotta keep ourselves fed, right? Let's cure the cook. Under such conditions, was there any decision that could be considered a good one? After all, I had to decide on yet another human life. I think that the debilitated crew needs to cook more since he will take care of food, unlike a watch commander. Let's just hope that we won't be ambushed by the Inuit people or some wild beast. So there is going to be some combat involved with the game as well. Let's go over to the infirmary then and find what's happening. Sickbay. So, William Smith is still freed up. Let's go over to treat patients. And we're clearing up the cook, we said, right? So we had apparently some sort of tooth infection, it seems like. That is a tooth, right? Whatever. So, there it is. Assign medicine. Skip our day. As it turned out, the decision to cure the cook was on point. The crew quickly started appreciating a change in the quality of their meals. Taking advantage of improved mood among the crew, I decided to announce that we would be leaving the ship. We are still waiting for any of the group we have sent for help to return. However, I do think that we should prepare for the worst. If we are indeed left unaided, abandoning Erebus would be the only possible way to save ourselves. The crew was surprisingly content upon hearing my words. Maybe a lot of them could sense that something was already going on. Or maybe Captain Fitzjames, my guardian angel, who was the only one to know this plan, has spread this information so that the mariners could slowly adapt to it. Are we supposed to start preparing now, sir? I would, yes, slowly. We have to make a list of things to take with us, prepare packages, and if nobody returns in a week's time, you will set off. But where, Captain? That was a good question, actually. A question to which there was no answer yet. Gathering supplies before leaving the ship is a full stretch now. It also turned out that we're not alone on the ship. Rats have a true paradise on the lowest deck, Captain. We have not controlled it properly back then, and now it turns out they have grown in numbers significantly during this time. Does it pose any problem to us, I ask? I mean, in our current situation, and we leaving the ship anyway, we're not able to take with us everything from the lowest deck. We can leave it behind along with the rats. I'm not saying that this is a problem. Quite the contrary. Maybe it's an opportunity. I was looking at him without a word, so he continued. Rats, as gross as they are, contain meat that was bred on our supplies. Since we're running low on food, we could hunt them. I think the additional food, though disgusting, could be helpful in a rainy day. I shuddered at the thought of eating rats, though indeed, there were numerous cases where their meat saved lives in the sea. On the other hand, mood among our people is certainly not the best before a journey into the cold darkness. We can boost their morale by organizing a shooting competition. We can make use of the ammunition that we still have because we will have to leave it here anyway. But in this case, there will not be much left from the rats for us to eat. So, I mean, if this was posed to me, I would probably say let's just eat the rats. But considering I got the cook working on food prior, maybe that built up enough of our food supplies. Not that this really matters, obviously, but I'm trying to, pose it to you in such a logistic way, right? So, yeah, I'm gonna say maybe morale as we are venturing into the deep dark. We've had a cook working on food. Maybe morale would be the best for us. So let's go ahead and rats for entertainment. He's gonna announce the competition. So this is where a little bit of Frostpunk comes into play, because we also have orders. We have science, we have religion, progress, militarism. I don't think any of these are at the moment available for us to even check out what they are, as they're locked. The only one available for us is science. And we got Rats for meals, obviously, we could allow or forbid that, but we're going for rats for fun. Today I received a report on the shooting competition where rats were the target. Everybody who was willing to take part in it, and there was nobody who had anything against it. It was given a weapon, and the grand shooting was declared. Mariners had a fixed amount of time to shoot as many rats as they could. The best competitors were awarded an additional portion of rum, though everyone appreciated just the mere opportunity to shoot at a target. People's moods have definitely increased. Good. In the afternoon, we were faced with the nightmare of reality. That's not good. In which I could blame only myself for the decision I had made. Weapons that I had ordered to be issued for the shooting competition was not returned in the same number. When we were trying to explain what happened, we heard gunshots. A mariner ambushed others with a rifle, seemingly in a state of amok. He fires a few times, and it must have been a miracle that he severely wounded just one mariner. 2 others were mildly injured. The attacker was eventually caught. "What's gotten into you, freak?" I was shouting in his face with despair. I couldn't reconcile the situation. It turned out that the most injured mariner died. Well, had things been differently, had we shot or at least hunted the rats? It's possible, yeah. The shooter was silent and avoided my gaze. Tears were spilling from his eyes. He made an impression of being shattered by his action. Could that be a temporary insanity? I was looking at the crew gathered around us. People had anger painted on their faces, justified anger for killing their companion. Such a horrible deed must be punished with another death. Though, can we allow a loss of another crew member before an extremely demanding march in unhumane conditions? Having one mariner less might decide her fate. I mean, what's to stop him from doing it again? Obviously, you don't give him a gun, you're saying, right? Sure. Maybe you pack him with a lot of extra things to carry for us? I mean, you're right. It's gonna hurt us a lot having one less. I mean, if we take this guy out, we're looking at 2 less mules to carry stuff, right? We're all mules at this point, right? But what would the other people say? This guy killed our comrade, and he's fine? Whatever awaits us, law is law. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, dead for dead. I didn't have to speak a lot. I nodded, looking at people around me. They knew exactly what I was meant. They craved it. The shooter was dragged to the upper deck, and I could only hear a sound of a single gunshot. Is this what hell looks like? Just as I awoke today, Captain Fitzjames appeared at my cabin door. His face was darkened, although it wasn't anything extraordinary in the past few weeks. Preparations for the journey have practically finished. We're ready to set off in the next few hours. I'd say it's good news then, isn't it, James? Yes, it is, although... Do we know already where to go? It was indeed a problem. Even though I had some scenarios prepared in my head, I invited Fitzjames to a table with maps. We're located somewhere here. I nailed my finger in paper, which was destroyed by cold. We can try to save ourselves by navigating to the north, the direction from which we came from. We would have to cross it by land. This be the most reasonable solution. What about the second option? Tell me in all honesty, James, what are the chances for survival? I was wondering how he would react to such a question. As it turned out, he wasn't surprised by it. You know, Francis, I think we are standing on the very edge from which there is no return. We are doomed, and the only thing we can do is be on duty until the very end of it all. Those words were ringing in my ears, especially because they were my thoughts uttered out loud. For this exact reason, the second option that I see is heading to the south. According to the maps that we have, and to my analysis, it is a direction that might uncover the Northwest Passage. If our death is certain, we can give it meaning and a goal, to embark on the last journey in order to discover the very thing we have set off from home, to fulfill our destiny and our last charge. Well, if we're going down, I guess we're going down, hopefully making it worth it. A bit later, while waiting the last crew members, I was standing and all prepared, ready on the upper deck. We had boats loaded with supplies as we intended to hold them. They could come in handy in case we stumble upon a river or another body of water, unless it's frozen. I wanted to gaze upon the horizon beyond which we will head, but in such darkness I couldn't see further than a bulwark. Captain, we are ready. Very well then. Gentlemen, ahead of us is the toughest journey of our lives. We will go down in history. And that is it. Again, we get a little bit of a summary here, but this is not really, I think, a good indication as to what the game's going to be about. As I've mentioned, it's only showing us the last few days of the voyages, based on, real events, obviously. But based on their last few days, and obviously we're not going to change that, right? We're not going to miraculously save them, because that's not what happened. But it's basically taking what happened and using it to teach us the mechanics of what the actual game that we'll be playing, the decisions we're making, etc., etc. There's definitely going to be a lot of strategy involved, a little bit of gambling involved too, I would imagine, right? With the calls you make. Obviously, sometimes you got to put some people down. Sometimes offering them guns when they're apparently close to breaking might not be the best idea, Falcon. You're right. You are correct. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. Down below in the description, I'll have a link for you. When this comes out fully, definitely expect another video on this because I love Beat Cop and I've been watching this one for a while. And I'm glad that we finally have something on it. And the atmosphere around it is absolutely amazing. I'll catch you guys next time.